I speculate that at the heart of Towson's nightlife power structure, there's more than meets the eye. And Charles Village Pub, where CVP sits right in the middle of it. One point of this triangle, the owners of CVP. They run the daily operations and hold the liquor license, the single most important asset for keeping their doors open. Another point, Nancy, a prominent figure in the Towson Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber controls the pulse of community events, street closures, and public image. CVP's consistent role in those events isn't just participation, it's positioning, and with positioning comes leverage. The final point, Baltimore County Liquor Board. They hold the authority to approve, revoke, or suspend liquor license. On paper, their role is about regulation, but in practice, I speculate that timing, connections, and relationships can tip the scales when it comes to enforcement. When you connect these 3 points, you don't just see a triangle, you see a loop of mutual benefit, where rules and penalties may bend, not because of policy, but because of who's connected to whom. I reached out to Nancy Hafford of the Towson Chamber of Commerce, asking to sit down for an interview. My goal was to ask questions about how the Chamber views businesses and business ethics here in Towson. In the process, I learned something interesting. Word around town is that Nancy is really good friends with Melanie, the owner of CVP. Now, I can only speculate how deep that friendship runs, but it certainly raised some questions about objectivity. During filming, the Chamber of Commerce actually contacted Tap-In, the very outlet that had agreed to sit down with me, and made it clear they were not happy about the interview happening. And you can probably guess who may have prompted Nancy to make that call. I even have an email from Nancy herself. In that message, I described some of the things I've observed going on at CVP. Her reply came back in bold capital letters. Vlad, no one has ever complained to me about anything that is going on at CVP. That is my response. Both CVP and Nancy ultimately declined my request for an interview. If Nancy never heard anything bad about CVP, why would she be concerned about me sitting down with Tappan and hearing their side of the story? To follow up, if Nancy didn't hear anything bad about CVP, there are 3 possible reasons as to why. 1, she genuinely didn't know, and that's completely understandable given the disconnect between age groups and channels of communication that work there. 2, she did know but chose not to act, possibly to preserve relationships or avoid potential conflicts. I speculate that there might be something deeper going on between the 2. 3, she may have heard in passing comments or subtle mentions, but dismissed them as isolated or insignificant, rather than recognizing a broader pattern that's now coming into focus. Let's pivot to why I speculate the owners may be taking advantage of their employees and getting away with it. As we've seen with the current relationships in Towson, it's easy to see how one establishment can feel untouchable. As John mentioned in his interview, CVP is allegedly deeply in debt to their distributors. If that's the case, it starts to make sense why they might be penny pinching from their own staff. Take the Halloween event, for example. I wasn't paid for my work that night, and the same day, all staff were told we would not be coming home with our tips. Instead, we would have to rely entirely on Melanie to distribute payments. The same policy applied to any catering event we worked, and we would only see that money later, if at all. Another area that raises serious questions is CVP's ability to repeatedly beat liquor violations. Just this year and last, the bar faced 3 separate hearings, all with the same attorney, and each time all charges were dropped. The most recent hearing, rescheduled for January 6, 2025, was a hearing to show cause why the license should not be suspended or revoked due to alleged violations. These violations fall under the Annotated Code of Maryland Alcoholic Beverages articles, including Section 13.2.101, Application of General Provision, Section 6.304, Selling or Providing Alcoholic Beverages to Individuals under the age of 21 years. Additionally, violations were cited under the rules and regulations of the Board of Liquor License Commissioners for Baltimore County, including Rule 27, Manager's Employment of, and Rule 28, No Sale to Minors. Essentially, these charges were related to allowing underage drinking, improper management practices, and violation tied to who is responsible for overseeing the alcoholic service. Even with these serious allegations, CVP has managed to have all the charges dropped repeatedly. Tappan also reported that the violations occurred during their partnership with the bar, further suggesting a pattern. While the exact context the CVP has at the liquor board are unknown, I could only speculate that the relationships or influence may be involved in navigating hearings in their favor. Adding to the concern is CVP's securities practices. As Johnny mentioned in his interview, he often had no proper tools or procedures to verify IDs, leaving staff to rely on guesswork. This lack of oversight allows underage drinking to happen with surprising frequency, and yet despite these clear vulnerabilities, CVP continues to avoid consequences. As this